So communication. Now, who needs to know what I know now? He or she may be your student, he or she may be your spouse or a child or your own, student, your colleague, your senior. And who knows what I need to know? Very difficult, you see, uh, because many people make assumptions, okay, about why the person has said in that way. So, friends, assumptions are the termites for any relationships. And you will agree with me that the best pesticide for it is communication, that is, sharing information. So, we share information with each other. Communicating is to exchange the idea or the information, and exchange is not one way. Why I'm saying exchange? It is a two-way process because both are involved, in communication. So, communication is a process of achieving understanding between people. Now, the question is, sometimes we say you cannot not communicate. It means that humans communicate as soon as they perceive each other, isn't it? And from this, it follows that every kind of interaction, whether it is verbal or non-verbal, is communication. It means we always communicate, isn't it? So, uh, uh, let me before explain the concept. You please think about good teachers you have known. You have done your schooling, graduation, post graduation, even PhD. So think about good teachers you have known. You will recall teachers from your, as I said, school or college who had a significant impact on your education. They may have used different, you see, styles of instruction, but all would have expressed their ideas clearly and coherently. You probably benefited from their teaching. Why? Because much of what they said was comprehensible, useful, and relevant. In nutshell, we can say they were good communicators. Now, likewise, think about the poor teachers you have known and try to remember how they taught. I think you will definitely say that those teachers, which we call them poor teachers, did not demonstrate. Their teaching was dull, their teaching was unstimulating. They could not control their classes because they failed to convince the students. Many times, the student asked questions, they failed to convince them. So, in fact, they were poor communicators. So, important aspect of good teaching or good managing the department is efficient communication. And efficient communication present, you see, coherent and meaningful messages. Okay, so the the word has been derived from a Latin word communis, which means common. It refers to, you can say, the serial of contact. It refers to trying to establish a degree of commonness with someone else. That is why I said that it is a process of achieving understanding between people. If I am communicating to you, and if you are able to reproduce exactly as per my, you see, message, it means you have understood my message. So the message becomes a common, you see, link between the communicator and communicatee. So another Latin word is communis, means to share till it becomes, a common possession, that is common between two people. Because whenever two or more people work together, there is a need for communication between them. that is interpersonal, and sometimes you can, or you also talk to yourself. So it is a continuous process of telling, ordering, commanding, listening, questioning, and answering. It means uh, it includes anything. I would say some of all things one person does when he or she wants to create understanding in the mind of another person. So it involves a systematic, as I said, a continuous process of telling, listening, understanding anything, some of all things. It may include verbal, it may include non-verbal also. So anything. Another definition is the process of passing information from one person to another person. It is a process of, I would say, importing ideas and making oneself understood by others. As I said earlier, an exchange of facts, exchange of ideas, opinions, emotions by two or more persons. Okay. Now, you see, I am telling you the concept of communication, the process of communication. I'm describing the techniques of effective communication. And after the session is over, if you are able to reproduce, it means whatever I wanted to convey was received by you. So then it becomes a common, you see, property. It's a common link between two or more than two people. The transmission of information, ideas, emotions, skills by the use of symbols, words, pictures, figures, graphs, etc. So, process of transferring information, idea, feeling, understanding from one person to another person is communication. The process by which we understand others and in turn endeavor to be understood by them. So it is a dynamic process. It's a constantly changing and shifting in response to the uh, to the total situation. So you see, uh, now the management expert. I think some of you might have heard the name of you see Peter Drucker. He said that the most important thing in communication is hearing what is not said. That is your, when I am talking to you, you are looking at my posture, you are looking at my uh, tone of my voice. Okay, you can make out many things from my tone, from my pitch of voice, from the way I am speaking to you. Okay, so verbal and non-verbal. Another management expert said that you can have brilliant ideas, but if you cannot get them across, your ideas won't get you anywhere. Your idea will be with you only. Okay. If you are not able to convince the other person has not understood what you wanted to say, it means fault lies in you. You need to make certain changes. Sometimes you need to you see integrate certain media, certain visuals to make your message more meaningful, more interesting. Okay, so you can have brilliant ideas, but if you cannot get them across, your ideas won't get you anywhere. Robert Frost, what he said, please read it. Half the world is composed of people who have something to say and cannot, and the other half who have nothing to say, they keep on saying it. This you will find in our day to day life. Okay. So, as I said, that communication is very much central to all business, social, cultural, spiritual, political activities. So, there are the communication skills are communication skills include presentation skills. Presentation may be the oral presentation. Presentation may be through writing, because speaking. listening, writing, reading, all these are the different forms of communication. So when you are negotiating with other party or other individual or some vendor, communication skills are needed. Writing skills require communication. When you want to influence somebody or you want to have a control over the other person, so communication, cross cultural communication, win-win conversation, selling skill, that involves communication. You see, you go to market and there are two shops. Both the shops are, you see, selling almost same products, but in one shop there is a huge crowd. Why? Because the person who is demonstrating the features of a particular product is very efficient in communication. Okay, he you see answers the questions of all the you see buyers. Selling skills, communication is also needed when you are you see talking to your group members. So when you want to develop team spirit among your team members, so communication is needed. So the common ways to communicate is speaking, writing, reading, then listening, your body language, the visual images, etc. All these are the ways of communication. Now coming to uh, uh, what is why it is needed. uh, Firstly, information sharing, that is to transmit information from one person to another person, say HOD to associate professor, assistant professor, and say the non-teaching staff, or the teacher to the student. So that is the, when you are delivering content, when you are giving rules, when you are explaining about the regulations, that is information sharing. Okay, or the second one is to give feedback to your colleagues, to your students, okay, on their performance. You want to clarify job roles, responsibilities, it means feedback is given to them, because sometimes the rule is vague or it is not self explanatory, so you give explanation, that is feedback. Control, that is you see, information is transmitted to ensure that the plans are being carried out according to original design. So communication, you see, helps in ensuring such control, a monitoring mechanism. Okay, so when you are monitoring, so you control the behavior of your colleagues through communication, or sometimes you coordinate the activities of various departments, or you are motivating, so that communication is needed. Influence, to influence your subordinates, to influence your students, that is to create a good climate, right attitude, congenial, you see, environment, or congenial relationship. You see, you want to introduce certain change. Okay, so communication is needed. Problem solving requires communication. Decision making requires several kinds of communication. You want to introduce certain change, okay, but people resist change. So first of all, you need to explain the rationale of introducing a change. Once these other person is convinced, only he or she will then accept the change. So communication facilitates change, and also helps to build linkages uh, of the members of the department with other members of the other departments or institution with the outside world also. Now coming to the kinds of communication. So you see that communication in any organization, people at same level communicate among themselves. They communicate with people at higher level, and they also communicate at lower level. So it means the information may flow from top to bottom or from bottom to top. or flow among people at same level. So in any organization, there would exist three types of communication. So let us talk about the downward communication, which involves whenever a higher person sends a message to the junior person, it that is from the head of the institution to the HODs, HODs to teachers, teachers to students, teachers to non-teaching staff. Okay, so this is the downward communication. The examples could be that when you want to provide job instructions, direction about what to do or how to do it. So in the class, you explain the job rationale, the topic rationale. When you are providing the rules, procedures, practices, etc., that is giving instruction or assigning. You see the goals or tasks, or you see information about how effectively you see a person is performing, that is feedback. Or indoctrination means that is information aimed at motivating your colleague by you see impressing upon the organization's mission upon them and specifying how they should relate to it. But friends, there are many problems with downward communication. One is lack of awareness, because many people do not know about all types of downward communication. Another is lack of feedback about what and how the information is received. You see, I am talking to you, teacher is talking to your student, talking to his students. Now, unless the teacher asks one or two questions, the student respond to those questions, the teacher will not never know whether his ideas have been understood by the students. So I would suggest that before the end of a semester, please give them a piece of paper and tell them not to write their names or roll numbers. Only tell them to give the feedback about what about how you have taught to them. Or when the message is not clear, message is not complete, insufficient message, then there could be certain problems with the receiver. Or message is overload, that is in one go you have told many things to your colleague, and the colleague, junior colleague, he or she has not brought one piece of paper. So whenever you are giving two three instructions or two three tasks to your colleague, you can also provide them a piece of paper and pencil and tell them to note down these things, because otherwise वो भूल जाएगा. Okay. Another is delay, because it is time consuming. You see, greater are the chance of delay with the increase in the level of communication. uh, Sometime filtering, that is you are conveying information by hiding some of the valuable information to your colleagues. Or you see serial transmission, that is as information passes from one person to another, it becomes you see less if I ask you to give one information to you see many people. Okay, let me here give you one illustration about the serial transmission. You will find that information loss and the content is you see distorted when the person at the end receives the message. You can have a look at this small episode. uh, Colonel in the army, he said to the major that at 9 tomorrow there will be an eclipse of the sun, something that doesn't occur every day. It's very simple. Get the men to fall out in the company street in their fatigues, that is in their uniforms, so that they will see this rare phenomenon, and I will explain it to them. In case of rain, we will not be able to see anything, so take the men to the gym. So message is very clear, but this message was given to the major in oral form, that is verbal, okay, only oral form. Now the major to the captain, now he has himself used another word. He says, by order of the colonel, tomorrow at 9 there will be an eclipse of the sun. Otherwise, nahi lagna. He says, by order of the colonel, tomorrow at 9. So if it rains, you will not be able to see it from the company street. So then in fatigue, the eclipse will take place in the gym. Something that doesn't occur. देखिए words वही हैं, लेकिन जब जो उसने सुना वो आगे कन्वे कर रहा है, हाँ, इसको चाइनीज विस्पर भी बोलते हैं। आपने छोटे होते ये गेम भी खेली होगी कि एक दूसरे को हम बोलते हैं और एंड में जो है वो टोटली डिस्टॉर्टेड मैसेज आता है। ओके, नाउ द कैप्टन टू द लेफ्टिनेंट, अगेन ही रिमेंबर्ड द बाय ऑर्डर ऑफ द कर्नल इन फटीग्स टुमारो एट 9। देखिए उसने अपने आप एक नया वर्ड यूज कर दिया। ही सेड द इनॉग्रेशन ऑफ द एक्लिप्स ऑफ द सन विल टेक प्लेस इन द जिम। The colonel will give the order if it should rain, something that occurs every day. Now, the lieutenant to the sergeant, he says, tomorrow at 9, the colonel in fatigues will eclipse the sun in the gym if it is a nice day. And if it rains, then he will do it in the company street. Now, sergeant to the corporal, he says, tomorrow at 9, उसने क्या बोला? The eclipse of the colonel in fatigues will take place because of the sun. If it rains in the gym, something that doesn't occur every day, you will fall out in the company street. अब देखिए एक जवान दूसरे जवान को खुसरे खुसरे कर रहा है, tomorrow if it rains, it looks as if the sun will eclipse the colonel in the gym, and it is a shame this doesn't occur every day. So देखिए यहाँ से एक लेसन मिलता है that if the message is very important and we want that everybody should receive the same message, then it should be sent through written communication, because written communication is much reliable and it also ensures that they all receive the same message. अब देखिए ओरल मैसेज में तो कुछ वर्ड डिफिकल्ट हुए तो रिसीवर उसको अंडरस्टैंड नहीं कर पा रहा, लेकिन रिटर्न कम्युनिकेशन में अगर कोई वर्ड डिफिकल्ट है तो वो डिक्शनरी में से भी पूछ सकता है, अपने कुलीग से भी पूछ सकता है ना। सो रिटर्न कम्युनिकेशन इज वेरी रिलायबल एंड चीपेस्ट मेथड। और आज के जमाने में इफ यू हैव फॉर्म्ड वन व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप, तो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में in one go you can send message to all your colleagues. Okay, then coming to the second one is upward communication. Okay, so upward communication you see takes place when message flow from lower to upper, that is from learner to teacher or from teacher to the head of the institution or the principals. Okay, say how well topic is being received by the learner, or management decisions are being received by the teacher, or seeking suggestions for improvement. Okay, problems being faced, grievances, disputes, performance, ये सारी चीजें upward communication में आती हैं. But there are problems with upward communication. One is that risk is involved. Why? You see, subordinates many a times willingly distort the message because they fear if they tell the original fact to the boss, he or she may face some problem. Or when you are expressing frustration with your project, so distortion of message is there. Okay, Then you see another problem is the limited communication medium, because you see top management has got number of communication medium, but the bottom person, you see, does not have many communication medium available with him. Okay, so inappropriate upward communication medium can create confusion for individuals receiving the message. Another is bypassing in the no, not by filtering, sorry, filtering. So मैंने इसके बारे में बता दिया, that is it occurs when messages pass through you see an intermediary in the communication channel. So filtering can alter the original message. I would say it would limit its effectiveness, or you see render it incomprehensible. Bypassing in the process of upward communication, sometimes employees directly you see approach the topmost. कई बार आपने देखा होगा. So authority with their suggestion or bypassing their immediate boss, or lack of you see initiative. Generally you see subordinate is reluctant to take the initiative to upward communication for one reason or the other reason. कई बार तो वो जाता ही नहीं है उसके पास जब तक उसको बुलाया नहीं जाता. Flattery है. So in order to convince the boss, the subordinate can take the help of flattery, and for all this reason, with their you see they may conceal the true and provide incomplete information to the top level. Sometimes the lack of knowledge, lack of experience, culture difference, these are certain problems with you see upward communication. Now the another is the horizontal, I would say, communication or lateral communication that takes place between members of the institution with equal power, that is between teacher, between HODs, or between learners. And the purpose is for coordinating activities between various departments, solving interdepartmental problem, or for resolving conflicts, building rapport, or sharing information. And upward communication and downward communication, there are number of factors that inhibit horizontal communication also. One is rivalry within the department occurs. For example, when the different levels often you see department fail to cooperate with one another, so between individual teams can lead to reluctance to you see cooperate and share information. देखिए, for example, one faculty member knows how to move from 6,000 to 7,000 grade pay, and how many programs are to be attended by him or her. So वो उसको पता चल गया कि फलां ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में some program is being run, and he applies, and he never shares this information to the other individual. तो क्योंकि राइवलरी है ना, तो वो कहता है कि भाई अगर मैं उसको बता दूंगा वो भी अटेंड कर लेगा, दोनों की इकट्ठी हो जाएगी. तो भाई कई बार ऐसा होता है. सपोज आई हैव परचेज वन बुक, बट आई हाइड दैट बुक फ्रॉम माय अदर कुलीग. तो मैं जब पढ़ाता हूँ तो ये अच्छी बात होनी चाहिए कि अगर आपने एक बुक परचेज की है, दूसरे टीचर ने भी एक बुक परचेज, तो बोथ ऑफ यू कैन एक्सचेंज. आपके पास दो बुक्स का फायदा हो गया. ओके, सो this is a problem. Then another is territoriality. This occurs when members of the department regard other people's involvement in their area as inappropriate or unwelcome. वो कहते हैं तू कौन मैं खाम खा, बिना मतलब के उसको इन्वॉल्व किया. Lack of motivation is another problem with information overload, or say specialization. One person is expert in say computer, I remember, I recall my earlier days when in 95 the computers were given to us, and we have computer science faculty, and whenever we find certain problem with the computer, we go to the computer person. He comes to our desktop, and then he does something. Lekin he never tells us how to solve this problem. He says हम बैठे हैं ना, ओके, सो वो स्पेशलाइजेशन है, तो वो अपनी स्पेशलाइजेशन दूसरे के साथ शेयर नहीं करते, बट ग्रेजुअली we made certain mistakes and then we learned many things, okay, ourselves. So this is another so this is you see, and then damn care spirit is likely to be encouraged because of unclear channels and rules of interaction. Now, there is one-way communication when a person is talking at the other person. So, in many classrooms, we teachers employ one-way communication. The advantage, only one advantage, is that you can cover much content matter. No planning is required, and uh, you can deliver your content in more time, less time, and no planning. This is the only but disadvantage with one way communication is that you will never know whether your students have received the information, because uh, they are sitting as passive listeners, they are inactive, okay, they may indulge in daydreaming. So that is the problem with one way communication. So two-way communication is much better, because when the teacher and student both are involved in communication, whenever the student finds certain problem or some a doubt, he can raise his hand, he can get the clarification. Likewise, in department also, say मैंने एक अपने कुलीग को एक टास्क दे दिया, then I'll ask how you will perform. मैंने बोला how you will perform, indirectly I wanted to know whether he has understood the task, okay, तो वो बताएगा कि मैं ऐसे ऐसे करूंगा, then I'll give him or her feedback, okay, you go ahead, okay. So two-way communication. Then communication could be verbal communication, it is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication uh, involves body language, okay. Then another is simple eye contact to a light touch. About 70% communication is non-verbal. Your facial expression, especially eyes, voice tonality, the pitch and loudness, gestures, especially hands, body movements, posture, proxemics, spatial distance between the individuals in different cultures and situations. Now, uh, language skills are very essential for communication. Primary skills are receptive skill, one that is listening and reading. Productive includes speaking skills, writing skill, and basically sub skills are also needed, that is grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, choice of words, क्योंकि आपने अगर इनअप्रोप्रिएट वर्ड चूज किया तो वो उसका कॉन्टेक्स्ट ही डिफरेंट हो जाएगा, मीनिंग ही डिफरेंट हो जाएगा, ओके. एंड यू वांट टू कन्वे some message in a few words, okay. And non-verbal, these are the sub skills needed. So channels for various types of communication are: one is face to face, through telephone, okay, through Google, electronic mail, letters, memos, or formal reports or bulletin. So it is likely to be effective if message is perceived by the receiver the way the sender intended. Only then we say that it is a process of achieving understanding between two people. Now, the process of communication, firstly, the linear process. Who says what? on which channel, to whom, with what effect. Okay, so sender sends the message through certain media. Message is received by the receiver, and action is taken. But this doesn't involve the clarification about certain doubts as far as the receiver is concerned. So for this we need to employ two-way communication. Okay, so firstly, let me make clear the difference between the sender and the receiver. Sender is basically the author of the message, okay, and receiver is the person who accepts and interpret the message. Let me show the complete picture. So receiver is the person who accepts the message or interprets the message. And in when we you see from a classroom point of view, teacher is not always the sender and students are not always the receiver. There is role reversal that is very much needed. Role reversal. Okay, so when a sender transmits a message to the receiver responds to the message by providing feedback to the sender. So for receiving the feedback, there is a role reversal and the original sender now becomes the receiver. So every primary sender is also a receiver and every principal receiver is also a sender. So friends, that communication you see begins with the formulation of message, and often the message is you see vague or you see unorganized. So what the sender does, he he encodes the message. Okay, he puts that message in appropriate form that can be transmitted to the receiver. It means he you see represent the idea or the message in an appropriate language, which may take verbal, symbolic, pictorial और डायग्रामेटिक फॉर्म्स. यानी उस एनकोडिंग के दौरान आपको ये देखना है कि भी मैसेज मीनिंगफुल हो, विजुअल्स हो तो इंटरेस्टिंग होगा और अंडरस्टूड होगा. ओके, सो एनकोडिंग में यू नीड टू यूज सिंपल लैंग्वेज, कॉमन लैंग्वेज. आवर पर्पस इज नॉट टू इम्प्रेस अपॉन आवर audience with the use of bombastic language. Our purpose is to make the message clear. So we need to use the language in which your receiver can understand. So before you see formulating message or encoding message, you need to know the characteristics of your receivers. Okay, what they already know. Okay, so to then comes message transmission. You see first two steps, that is on how the sender prepares the message. Now transfer of message across the physical barrier between sender and the receiver. So message transmission starts with sender choosing an appropriate channel or mode of presentation. Channel could be auditory, that is spoken message, visual, involving you see body movement, written text, diagram, picture, video. It may be kinesthetic, that is communication by feel or touch, or combination of these. So verbal and both non-verbal. Then coming to message decoding and interpretation. Okay, receivers now are required to interpret or extract the messages that have been transmitted through one or more channels of communication. So if receivers you see know the form of language used, the message has clarity, they should be able to both decode and comprehend message clearly. Receivers must have adequate background knowledge of the topic in order to comprehend the message. So it's an active process that require attention, concentration on the part of receiver. Now, the last stage in the communication process is feedback and evaluation. So this stage involves a receiver reacting to the transmitted message and conveying the response to the sender. Now the receiver will become the sender. He or she will encode the message, send the message, and the message would be received by the original sender, now acting as a receiver. So feedback is available to sender immediately after the message has been transmitted. Okay. So there are you see certain barriers. One is the noise you see compromise factors which interfere with the exchange of message. Noise may be physical noise like sound of traffic on the road, or say physiological such as hearing disorder or sometimes severe headache, or the noise may be psychological like preoccupation of the learner or the receiver, hostility or fear, could be anything. Okay. Noise, role reversal, I have also already told to you. And even environment, every communicator you see inhibits a unique environment including personal history that each person brings to a communication transaction. Now communication you see is irreversible. You see our words once uttered are recorded in others memories, we cannot erase them. It is not possible to take back the words once uttered. So, very essential is that one should weigh the words carefully because the receiver may forgive, but he will never forget. Okay, so that is why there is one saying, think before you speak. Okay, very important message. Now, let me share with you that choice of words. What are the power of various words? A careless word may kindle strife. A cruel word may wreck life. A bitter word may hate install. A brutal word may smite and kill, isn't it? A gracious word may smooth the way. A joyous word may light the way. A timely word may lessen the stress. A loving word may heal and bless. Okay, this is by Karstein. Now coming to the principles of you see effective communication. Uh, One is before you see uh, you need to know how you can improve upon your communication skill. This is first is consider other people's feelings. Have you ever finished a conversation with someone and found yourself wondering, why did she tell me that? Or I wonder why he talked to me like that. होता है ना ऐसे. For example, a colleague might tell you something personal that doesn't seem important for you to know. Or your senior might seem angry with you for no reason. So finding out why can tell you a lot about what a person is trying to tell you. Another is consider your own feelings. Just as Other people's feelings can affect the message they are trying to send. Your own feelings also can get in the way of your communication. You see, when you feel a strong emotion or feeling, pay attention to that emotion and try not to let it get in the way of your message. Both positive emotions like happiness and negative emotions like anger can get in the way of effective communication. For example, if you are really happy about something, then you might agree to do things that you shouldn't or wouldn't normally agree to do. होता है ना ऐसे कि जिस दिन आपने बच्चा को भी समझ आती है कि टीचर का मूड आज अच्छा होगा, तो उसने मेरे पेपर को चेक किया, और अगर बीवी से झगड़ा हुआ है तो वो बच्चे के मार्क्स भी काट लेता है. On the other hand, if you are angry, you might say something mean to someone who has nothing to do with your being angry. So, when you have a good understanding of your own feeling, you will notice these emotions and try not to let them get in the way of your communication. Have empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is the ability to understand and relate to the feelings of someone else. So once you have learned to recognize other person's feelings, you can go one step further and actually relate to those feelings. For example, if you notice that a colleague seems stressed, you should try to find out why. If he or she tells you that he or she is stressed out because he or she doesn't have a lot of time to finish a big project, you can empathize with him or her by putting yourself in his or her shoes. That means you can imagine yourself in this situation and you can understand what the person must be feeling. So, when you have empathy for a person, you can think about how you would want to be talked to or what you would like other people to say or do if you were in that situation. So, going back to the example with your colleague, you could offer to help your colleague with the project or offer some words of, you see, encouragement. Good communication requires you to build trust between yourself and the person with whom you are communicating. So, operate on trust. You can earn the trust of others by sending non-verbal cues that match your words. For example, shaking your head no, ऐसे, while you are saying yes will send a confusing message. So the difference between your verbal and non-verbal communication could cause the other person to question whether or not you are telling the truth. So make sure that you always tell the truth and you can avoid these confusing situations. Another is recognize misunderstandings. Now, when misunderstanding happens, you see, a misunderstanding happens when two people think they are on the same page about something, but in reality, they are thinking two different things. And misunderstandings happen all the time. But emotional awareness can help you to avoid misunderstandings. Misunderstandings are usually caused by confusing emotions. Let me give you one example. For if your colleague is upset about something, he or she might talk to you as if he or she is angry with you, even if he or she is not. So it is tempting to walk away from this type of conversation feeling like your colleague is mad at you. but this would just result in a misunderstanding. So instead, you please recognize that your colleague is upset about something else and probably didn't mean to take their anger out on you. Other techniques, uh, for effective and efficient communication, the sender of the communication must be proficient in transmitting knowledge, and also he or she needs to be a receptive listener in the classroom. So you see, teachers need to be proficient transmitters of knowledge. So it is essential for teacher to develop particular personal qualities or attitudes for enhancing positive relationship with your colleagues, with your student, and at the same time to become receptive. Okay. Then develop a positive attitude to all your colleagues or your students and show trust in their actions and intentions, because positive attitude or mutual trust is essential if the teacher student or head of the department and colleague to communicate effectively in different situations. So effective interpersonal communication requires responsible and a caring relationship between persons. Be friendly, be patient with your colleague, learner, by showing warmth. So efficient communication is not possible in a hostile environment or threatening environment. Your colleague, your students need to feel at ease in the presence of the teacher, but at the same time, to be friendly doesn't mean that teacher has to lose control of classroom discipline. He has to be firm, but at the same time, maintain a friendly attitude. Do not talk down to them. You see, your colleagues or your students value those persons who treat them as individuals deserving of respect. So always call them by their name. When some student has answered the question very well, you say, Rameshji has said very rightly. You see, a person's name is to him or her the most important and most sweetest sound, because inexperienced teachers, they try to project an image of superiority in the class. This should not happen. Understand them by becoming knowledgeable of their background characteristics. You see, communication is more likely to be satisfactory if the HOD knows the knowledge, the skill, the attitude of their colleagues. So, while formulating and encoding message, you need to know the knowledge of the receiver, the characteristics of your receiver. Smile at them. Even you are entering the class, enter with a smiling face. You see, smile is an inexpensive way to improve your looks. And जब आप क्लास में एंटर करते हैं with an attitude that I am going to enjoy my students, definitely they will love to receive you in the classroom. Make content relevant to the interest, experiences, and lifestyles of your colleagues. You need to omit irrelevant or superfluous information from the messages. Use simple language, not to impress upon your student or your colleagues with the use of bombastic language. use simple language. Sometimes you can use the local language also. Give precise and unambiguous directions to them. As a HOD, I have sent one letter to my colleague. Please discuss or please speak. This is unambiguous. This is ambiguous. Okay. Please specify what to do and when to report. Make it specific. Give precise direction. While speaking, speak clearly. You can vary the tone, pitch when you are communicating to them, because this will help you to draw the attention of the receiver. You can make use of a combination of different channels of communication. You are say in a classroom, you are explaining verbally. Now you can write down main points on the chalkboard, or you can integrate certain you see PowerPoint presentation, or if you have you see selected some small video from YouTube. You see in YouTube channel, large number of videos ranging from 1 minute to 1 hour are available on every topic. The teacher is required to identify appropriate video, note down the link, provide the link to the students in their WhatsApp. They can watch that video, because video will make the lecture will make the content more concrete. Skill of stimulus variation. Don't stand stationary at one point in the classroom. Bring purposeful movements. You see while delivering lecture, you go to left side, stay for some time, then move to right side. Sometimes you can go inside. Okay. Then meaningful gesture. When you say rainbow is like this, your hand should also convey the same meaning. Change the tone and pitch of your voice, because अगर एक ही tone में आप बोलते चले जाएंगे, the student will start sleeping. Maintain an eye contact with each and every individual. Another tip is oral visual switching. Oral involves sense of hearing, visual involves sense of sight. So switch over. आपने कुछ बोला, students are hearing. Now you go to board and write something, draw something. Now they are seeing it. Okay. Then another is that change in interactional pattern. Please make your lecture or your presentation interactive, two-way. After delivering some content, please ask one or two questions, or you invite question from your students. Now they will participate. Okay. So these are the tips to, you see, make your receiver alert to the reception of the stimuli. Sometimes you can also tell your colleague to note down important point, or your student to note down important points. Ask questions, you can seek clarification, repeat important point. Message has to be sequenced properly. ये नहीं कि आप abrupt way में कभी कुछ बताया कभी कुछ. So you have to prepare, you have to sequence the message correctly. Listen carefully. Use more than one channel. Your message should be clear, adequate. Use less number of words. And finally, you see, make your students attentive in the classroom. So this is all about from my side. Now the session is open for